Teammates, first and foremost, if this is your first time listening to the Move Swiftly podcast, welcome to the show. Welcome to the number one show on innovative teamwork. Wonderful to have you. Looking forward to having you back for more. To my regular listeners, you already know how I get down right to the point. And again, because I am recording this the week of the Democratic National Convention. I know it may sound like I'm turning this show into some sort of political podcast, which I'm not. It's just as I do these episodes, what I do is I see what's going on in the world, I interpret it, I learn a little bit, and I bring you the raw, uncut, like the major current events and the things that are happening in this world, whether it's my world or some things going on in the major things that are happening. What happens on this show is I interpret it, I analyze it, I think about it, and I decide to give you the message, the real, the raw, uncut message that is going to help you as a business owner achieve certain things and understand certain policies and understand what it's all about. So today we're going to talk about, because it's fresh off the DNC, we're going to talk about politics, and we're going to talk about becoming a public figure, talk about how sports kind of plays a role in that, but more importantly, when it comes to how you need to be positioning yourself, how you need to be learning from the things that are going on, and how you don't need to be how you need to be very leery. I'll say it like that. You need to be very leery of what these politicians get on TV and say, these massive followings they have, what the typical way, the way a lot of people worship these politicians because they're promising all sorts of things. And ultimately, what I want to make sure I'm on the record stating throughout this episode and making it perfectly clear what this episode is all about is understanding how this two-party system that we have with Republicans and Democrats sucks. It sucks. All right. It is a terrible system towards governing and creating a cohesive unit in which people are working together. And it's our responsibility, it's your responsibility, it's my responsibility as a business owner, as an educator, as people that have influence, whether it's a parent, someone that is there for these young people, it has influence over young people. It's important for you to recognize how shady and how filled with propaganda and how much bullshit that this two-party system is creating, and how decisive it's creating, and how much division it's actually creating within our own communities, within our own country. There's so much division that's being shown on TV that it's important for you as a business owner to accept that and be the filler, be the problem solver as a business owner. Right. So before I go any further, let's get a full definition for the word politics. Politics is the activities towards governance. All right, the clear definition of politics. All right, so we're clear, because I know it gets said. There's a lot of bullshit that's out there, so it's important that we clearly define it. Right, politics. It is the activities towards governing a country or an area between two parties or an individual that are hoping to achieve power. All right. I'm going to say that one nice again, very, very slow. All right. Politics. It's the activities towards governance of a particular area or a country, all right, between two parties or two individuals that are hoping to achieve power. All right. The most important part in that definition, of which you have to be very clear about, is that the people who are in politics, or politics involves people or a party and or team and or an organization, whatever it is you want to represent at this particular time, you're hoping to achieve power. All right. And with great power, like the Spider-Man said, the quote from Spider-Man years ago is, with great power comes great responsibility. All right. So understand that first and foremost. And then also understand that when you listen to these politicians speak, especially this time of year where it's the 4 year, it's election season and all that. These politicians are dependent on the business owners to create the jobs that they go out and they promise the people that they will create because they're hoping to achieve power. So there's just a lot of confusion. I believe personally, there's a lot of confusion around what the term actually means. And because there's so much confusion, because, so many people who are only paying attention to this stuff maybe once every 4 years, or they're not in business for themselves, or they've gotten so stuck into a lifestyle in which they're just paying rent and they're getting paid every 2 weeks and all that kind of stuff. They're kind of blinded with a lot of the things that are going on politically, right? They're blinded with the way they are gaining influence. They're blinded with, just again, their day-to-day grind and the fact that they don't pay attention to what's going on in the local levels and the state senate and all that kind of stuff. Again, a lot of politics, a lot of things going on that we don't understand, which is why sports is the best way, in my opinion. Sports is the best way to give people, or give young people, give adults an understanding about how politics works. And then as you learn that, you're able to develop your own ideas. You're able to develop your own policies, and you're able to figure out ways to articulate it in a certain way. All right. That's politics. And for anyone listening, for the people that are listening in, the business owners, the majority of the people who tune into my work are business owners or former and current athletes, and those kinds of that kind of people who are into that world, or parents and educators and things like that. What you have to understand as you move forward and you're looking to improve your situation, improve your life, improve whatever it is you're going through, you've got to understand the concept of becoming a public figure. All right. Whether it's you becoming a public figure or you bringing somebody up on your team or that, or teaching or sparking the mind of the next public figure, so that public figure is able to gain the influence and establish the power that whether it's a politician or the business, establish we'll say the influence, because power can be a word that can be a little intimidating, but between the power and the influence towards doing whatever it is you're trying to do. All right. Now as you move forward, here's what I want to make sure I'm clear on saying now. Your intentions, if you want to pursue this, if you want to be the person that actually pursues this and becomes whether you want to be the business owner that's making a ton of money and the business is generating a ton of money, and that money is able to open certain doors for you and you're able to learn certain things and all that, or you want to become the politician and ride it all the way up to being a governor, to be, eventually be the president of the United States, whatever it is you're trying to do, understand that your intentions are your intentions, and what your plan is, what your goal is, what your policies are all about, what your services are all about, what your business is all about, what your products is all about. Your intentions need to be something that is very, very, very much a need, and very much an intention where you're looking to serve people in a certain way. All right, serve people in the right way, in the most positive way. That's really the main takeaway from today's episode. All right, because as I watch the DNC, and I'll let you, and I'll walk you through kind of my biggest takeaways in a second. But I want to make sure I'm on the record explaining to you the lens and giving you the perspective of the way you need to be viewing all these things and everything that went down. All right, so as far as the Democratic National Convention, and I've been on record saying that at the current moment, now so we're clear again, so we're 1,000% clear. I'm not a Democrat, nor am I a Republican. I am a critical thinker. And when I look at two people, I look at the two candidates and I ask myself, who is the best candidate, who is most suitable for the position that they're running for? And as of right now, going into the Democratic National Convention, Donald Trump was the person who I felt was the best. And as the Democratic National Convention ended, my opinion did not change one bit. As inspired, and trust me, I am a black man who grew up with Caribbean parents, right, who was around, grew up in Silver Spring, Maryland, who was around politicians, and I was there for the inauguration of Barack Obama. I was in attendance, and I could tell you all about that day if I had the time. I won't have time to tell you about it now, but I was there, and I still was not changed. I was not. They did not change my opinion in terms of who it is I will be voting for as of this recording. All right, and that's Donald Trump because what I consider my community are the business owners, the former athletes, and even as inspiring as Tim Walz was, the former high school football coach, who is now running alongside Kamala Harris, as inspiring as his speech was, I still believe Donald Trump will serve business owners and he'll serve business owners better. He made it very clear in his speech in the RNC that there won't be motherfucking men playing in girls sports. That'll end immediately, thank God. And he made it clear that the people that I look to work with and I associate myself with, made it clear that he's looking out for that community more than Kamala Harris has made that clear. She has not made it clear, and not only did she not make it clear, but she's been in office with Biden for the past 4 years, and these are the problems that come up. But I'll dissect and dive into her speech in a second. All right. So as far as the DNC, right, one of the things that I thought they did that was incredibly brilliant was they brought out Steve Kerr. Now, Steve Kerr, I know a lot of you young guys may know him as just the Golden State Warriors coach, but I'm old enough to remember when he was a role player for the Chicago Bulls, and the DNC was actually in Chicago, and bringing Steve Kerr out, I thought was fucking brilliant. All right. It was brilliant. Remember the definition of politics, right? They're hoping to achieve power. So there's tactical things that they're doing that are pulling on people's heartstrings, that are pulling on that are pandering to the crowd and making people excited about what they're going to get with this politician and all that. All right. So Steve Kerr, who was a former player for the Chicago Bulls and hit a ton of big shots. I mean, I've watched those live. He hit a ton of 3-point shot, like boom. He was him. He was him. He was like the I don't want to call him the Stephen Curry now because he wasn't as good as Stephen Curry, but he was somewhere in that vicinity of the Stephen Curry type guy, to where it came crunch time, you threw it out to Steve Kerr, who was wide open. Booyah! 3 points. And he made it. He made a lot of those wins. He made a lot of the victories possible for Jordan and Pippen and all them boys, right? So now he's fresh off as a coach, is the superstar coach that he's become. He's fresh off winning a gold medal in the U.S. Olympics. The U.S. I don't want to know if I should call him the dream team. I'm not sure if that's even controversial nowadays. But he just fresh off winning a gold medal with his team and in the Olympics, and they bring him out immediately to start off the DNC. Great tactic, great tactic. All right, and then the next day, it was 2 days before. This was the strategy. It's a strategy now. 2 days before Kamala Harris was set to speak, they brought out that man, the man, the myth, the legend, both of them. I mean, the woman and the man, the myth, the legend. They brought out the Obamas, boy, in Chicago, and they, in my opinion, tore that motherfucker up. I mean, I was going back to the '08 version of me when I was growing up in Silver Spring, Maryland, and I was seeing Barack and Michelle, and I was starting to develop some political aspirations of my own. I was into it. I'm like, that's what's up, Barack. You. So those two, having those three speak, almost convinced me to look the other, because I was moved. All right. But again, this isn't 2008. I'm not the misinformed young college kid that I used to be. I learned to pay attention to the things that are actually going on. And one of the things that I've come out verbally and said publicly was that I'm incredibly pro-life. I am against abortion. I do believe that it's important that the government does have some involvement in one's ability to go get aborted. Now, if it's an extreme situation where the kid is causing harm to the mother, or the unfortunately the baby has died in the mother's womb, and the mother needs to get rid of it in order to keep her life and all that kind of stuff, 1,000% I understand. Look, you got to do what you got to do. That's wrong. But when it came out that right outside of the DNC, Planned Parenthood had a truck there just giving out free abortions and free vasectomies to people like it was a damn taco stand, I thought that was complete bullshit, and it completely turned me off with the whole Democrat bullshit. That was just wrong in my opinion. All right, and I found this out like it was the day, it's either the around those times where I was motivated and I was listening to Michelle and Barack and Steve Kurtz. That's when the news came out that Planned Parenthood was at the DNC giving out free abortions and free vasectomies, which I was just disgusted, and seeing people actually do it was absolutely, in my opinion, just fucking wrong. There's certain things that are just wrong, and you don't do that shit, right? So that went down. Then after the Obamas, again, because of that I was turned off. But again, I still watch it. I'm still always into it. Again, I'm not ruling out me myself getting into politics and potentially being on that stage one day and creating something where I'm developing and I having a lot of influence, the public speaking and all the stuff I do. I'm not ruling it out. So I'm always interested in hearing how other speakers do and all that kind of stuff, right? So next day is when I believe it was Kamala Harris's Kamala Harris's husband spoke right after the Obamas, and that again, that was the problem. You don't follow up the Obamas. It's a really challenging task to try to follow up the Obamas. The next two speakers that really stuck out to me, three speakers I should say that stuck out to me, was Wes Moore, who's the governor of Maryland, my hometown. It was Tim Walz, the former high school football coach, social studies teacher, that honestly, for me personally, I was more inspired by his talk than actually Kamala Harris's talk. And was Oprah Winfrey. And you guys, regular listeners, you guys know, I love me some Oprah. All strategic moves, seeing that, she's made a lot of influence in Chicago and Oprah coming on there. But and that's why I want to pause you there, because this is an important point. When I saw Oprah speak, I thought to myself, okay, this is a woman who is a public figure worth billions of dollars with a B, all right, billions of dollars with a B. And because she's been around so long, I thought to myself, I'm like, you know what? I've seen her with Donald Trump before. I've seen her do stuff with Donald Trump. I've seen her have conversations with Donald Trump, right? And then I looked it up and I realized Donald Trump has been on her show. Donald Trump and her were, there was never any animosity, never anything necessarily controversial, contentious between Donald Trump and her. I mean, in fact, again, you can go look this up yourself. You can go look up the fact that Donald Trump has been on the Oprah Winfrey Show. They've provided a ton of value. Just their stories in general are great stories. So the fact that their things were said about Donald Trump by her, or by people that, well, we'll stick to her for now, that's what threw me off a little bit. And that's what made me realize, look, this two-party system absolutely is fucking ridiculous. It's terrible. What we should be thinking about is simply one thing. It's who's the best candidate, who's going to be the best candidate for this position, because this two-party system is just confusing. You can't have one of your feature speakers as like Oprah, one of your feature speakers at the DNC, who's done stuff with this opponent that now is talking so much, is so bad for the country, and there's so many people who talk so much shit about it. In fact, there were people who would comment on some of the posts I put out there saying that they're simply voting for Kamala Harris because they don't want Trump. I mean, if this person is so bad, why would you bring someone who has had Donald Trump on their show and had a great conversation with him. But why would you do all these things? And again, it's because if we go back to the definition of politics, that those activities, right, within the hoping to achieve power, activities of the governance of a particular area or a particular country, two parties or an individual who are hoping to achieve power, they're just hoping to get that vote, right? They're hoping to get that vote and then go on and about your business and go on with the rest of their lives. That's the game. I'm just giving you guys the game. All right. So Oprah talk, Tim Walsh talk, and Westmore talk, all very inspiring. But like I said, when I watched that Oprah talk, it got me thinking about this concept of being a public figure and how that is a little more, it's a little more important than a lot of people may consider, because that's what that makes it so you're ready to handle the pressure that comes with being the president. All right. So now, and I'll close you out with just my thoughts on what Kamala Harris said during her speech. All right. Now, she had, like I said, she had a lineup, and going into it, I knew where her biggest issue was going to be. The biggest issue was going to be, can she follow up all these great speakers that came before her? That was going to be the most challenging task. All right. There was, like, the Obamas, there was Steve Kerr, there was Oprah, there was Westmore, there was some great speakers that came before her, and it was going to be a really challenging thing to follow up what she said. All right, so I watched the full thing, and I was really inspired. Being raised as a person who was raised by Caribbean parents, raised in a Caribbean household, I was really inspired by what she said for maybe the I'll say first 25 minutes of her speech. The speech was about 37 minutes long. I was inspired at how she walked through that story of how she came up. I was inspired by, the things that her mother taught her, and some of the things that she's learned. I was inspired by that. All right. But then she started to show who she really is. And it's not a bad thing. I'm not here, completely trashing her by any means. I'm just being honest. Something, removing the fact that she's a Black woman and just being honest about the policies. The fact that she mentioned Donald Trump so much in her speech is what really turned me off. Really turned me off. What really, put the nail in the coffin, saying, all right, I'm voting for Trump. Because if you go back and you listen to Donald Trump's speech, he said it in his speech, and he made a concerted effort in his speech to not bring up his opponent's name. He had the platform. He had the same thing happen to him the way Kamala Harris did, where it was right there. There's a whole week of people talking about him and, singing his praises and things like that. And when it came time for him to give his speech, he did not go on an attack against Biden. He didn't just attack him. He said, look, I'm only going to mention him once, and I'm going to talk about the things I plan on doing. Kamala Harris did the opposite. Kamala Harris got up there, was inspiring at the beginning, but then it was all about what Trump plans on doing, what Trump did, what Trump isn't doing, who's rooting for Trump, all that kind of stuff. And it got me thinking. It was very frustrating, because you got to understand, it hasn't been Trump in office for the past 4 years. It's been you and Joe Biden. So what I would have preferred is that she got up there and spoke on and cleared up some of the issues that Biden had, the reason that Biden actually dropped out of the race. What role is she going to play? What did she do in the past 4 years? What she was able to create, what policies? Those should have been the things that she focused on in her speech. As it progressed. It shouldn't have been an attack on Trump. And that's what made me realize the public figure element towards politics needs to be more so implemented to people. And I think what actually happened was at least in my world, was President Barack Obama became such a public figure that hopefully what happens is we're looking up 10, 15 years from now, and this two-party system is completely eradicated, and people are just simply looking at two candidates, and they're saying to themselves, this candidate is better than that candidate. So I'm going to vote for that candidate, regardless of what affiliation, regardless of what party. I'm just simply voting for the best candidate. So that's pretty much the takeaway from this episode: is be an independent thinker, be a critical thinker, and ask yourself who is the best candidate for whatever position you're putting out there, and remove the politics, which is little activities to gain power. Remove that from your consideration and focus on who's going to be best for the position. All right. Fellow teammates, continue to move swiftly. We will talk more soon.